You turn a tap and clean water comes out. No thought, no risk, no wait. You drink it, you cook with it, you wash in it, and within seconds you've forgotten it ever happened. For most of human history, that single act, turning a tap, would have seemed like magic. Because for 300,000 years, water was not something you had. It was something you found, carried, protected, and sometimes died for. Let's start with the number that explains everything. Your body is about 60% water, and you can only survive roughly 3 days without it. Less in heat, less if you're moving, less if you're sweating out what little you have left. Food can wait, water can't. This one fact shaped where humans lived, how far they could travel, and how long any journey could possibly last. Early humans didn't choose their homes for the view, they chose them for the water. Nearly every major archaeological site connected to early Homo sapiens sits near a river, a lake, a spring, or a coastline. Olduvai Gorge, the cradle of so much early human evidence, follows an ancient lake system. This wasn't convenience, it was necessity. A group could walk away from almost anything and survive. They could not walk away from water for long. But finding water was only half the problem. The water you found could kill you just as easily as thirst could. Stagnant pools bred parasites. Rivers downstream of animal herds carried bacteria that could drop a grown adult in a day. Early humans didn't have germ theory, they didn't know what a pathogen was, but they had something almost as powerful, observation, passed down for generations. Don't drink where the water doesn't move. Don't drink where the animals gather at dusk. Drink where the water runs fast over stone, not where it sits and goes green. This knowledge wasn't written down. It couldn't be. It was carried in stories, in warnings, in the memory of an elder who had watched someone get sick and never explained why, only remembered where. Around 12,000 years ago, something changed. Humans stopped simply finding water and started controlling it. On the island of Cyprus, archaeologists have uncovered some of the oldest known water wells, stone-lined shafts dug straight down to reach groundwater, built by people who understood something remarkable. Water didn't only exist on the surface. It was underneath their feet the whole time, and if you dug deep enough and lined the hole so it wouldn't collapse, you could pull it up whenever you needed it, safe from the contamination sitting above ground. Digging a well sounds simple until you try it with no metal tools. Early wells were dug with sharpened wood, animal bone, and bare hands, sometimes reaching depths of 10 meters or more. People died building these, and once a well existed, it became one of the most valuable things a community owned, worth defending, worth fighting over, worth building an entire settlement around. In dry regions, humans got even more creative. In the Kalahari Desert, groups like the San people learned to store water inside hollowed ostrich eggs, sealing them with grass plugs and burying them in the sand at locations only they remembered, sometimes returning months later to a cache that had kept them alive through a drought. This wasn't storage. It was a survival map, buried underground, trusted to memory alone. Then came a bigger idea. What if you didn't wait for water to come to you? What if you brought it to yourself, from somewhere far away, running continuously, without you having to carry a single drop? Around 3,000 years ago, in ancient Persia, people began digging qanats, long, gently sloping underground tunnels that carried water from mountain aquifers down to dry farmland and villages, sometimes stretching for dozens of kilometers. Digging them meant sinking a series of vertical shafts along the route, then connecting them underground by hand, in the dark, with no light but a small oil lamp and no way out except back the way you came. Some qanats are still flowing today, over 2,000 years after they were built. The Nabateans, out in the deserts around what is now Jordan, took a different approach. They carved cisterns into solid rock, built channels to funnel every drop of a rare desert rainstorm into hidden reservoirs, and turned Petra, a city in the middle of near nothing, into a thriving capital. They didn't wait for water to be abundant. They engineered scarcity into survival. And then Rome scaled the whole idea up. Starting around 312 BC, with the Aqua Appia, Roman engineers built aqueducts, elevated channels that used nothing but gravity and precise measurement to move water across valleys and hillsides into the heart of a growing empire. Some aqueducts ran for over 90 kilometers, dropping in elevation by mere centimeters per kilometer, a level of precision achieved without lasers, without satellites, just eyes, levels, and generations of trial and error. At its peak, Rome had access to more water per person flowing into the city than many modern cities do today. But not everyone had rivers to divert or mountains to tunnel through. In parts of the American Southwest, communities at places like Chaco Canyon built check dams and small reservoirs to catch and hold the rare desert rainfall, stretching a handful of storms into a year's supply. In the Andes, the Inca built canals along mountainsides so precise that water could be redirected across entire valleys, feeding crops at altitudes where nothing should have been able to grow. What ties every one of these solutions together is this: none of them happened because clean water was easy. They happened because it wasn't, and humans refused to accept that as the end of the story. Even boiling water, something you do without thinking twice, was once a discovery. Long before pottery could survive direct flame, some groups dropped fire-heated stones into water-filled containers made of hide or wood, watching it come to a boil without the container ever touching fire. It's slow, it's inefficient, and it works. Somebody figured that out by trial, by loss, by watching what happened when they didn't. So here's the picture. For hundreds of thousands of years, water decided where you could live, how far you could travel, and how long you could survive once you got there. Humans learned to read a landscape for it, dig for it, store it, move it, and eventually engineer entire cities around controlling it. Every well, every aqueduct, every quiet pipe running beneath your street exists because somewhere back in time, someone got sick or someone nearly died of thirst and decided that finding water shouldn't be left to chance anymore. You turn a tap this morning and think nothing of it, but behind that single motion sit 10,000 years of people who dug in the dark, carried what they could, and buried water in the sand just to make sure it would still be there when they needed it most.